Welcome. We are going to start doing a monthly series on sales training for all you crazy weird people out there in sales. To start off, I wanted to give a little preface on my theory on sales. Everybody has a different theory they follow, whether they name that theory or not. This one we're going to call like the Jedi Theory or like the Star Wars theory on sales. From my experience, you have a light side and a dark side to sales. And it's very important to understand the practices of each, because I'm sure if you've had any experience with a salesperson, been in sales yourself, you've had a poor experience where you look back and you thought like, I was taken advantage of, or that person didn't do me right. But you've also had experiences probably where, hey, I had a really good sales, it didn't really even feel like sales. It was a nice, informative, educative experience where I learned a lot, got a product that I really love, and I appreciate that salesperson, right? Like first I want to like detail what the difference between the dark and the light side are, and then give some practical like sales training. We'll just do that a couple times a month. So you can take those principles and then use them in like an ethical way towards helping advance your career in sales, and also just provide people an amazing experience, whether you're selling a product or service. Let's start with the dark side, the Darth Vader tactics side of sales. All right, so the first thing they use is coercion, or like they're trying, instead of trying to persuade, they're trying to force someone to buy or do something, right? And I'm sure you've like met salespeople like that. One experience I had with this is we went to buy a car recently. We went to different dealerships, and one was a little pushy. They were really talkative. Towards the end, they said, "Oh, we want to give you a quote on this vehicle you're looking at," and they just handed the paper and say, "Hey, if you sign this, we give you a quote." And it was like, I put a full stop, like a pause, like, "Hey guys, like you're trying to force me to sign something before I even know the price. That doesn't seem right or fair. That's coercion." The flip side to that, on the good side, is persuasion. To give that car analogy again, we went to a different dealership. They were really just kind of open and listening. That's part of it. But what they also did is said, "Hey, what are your needs as a driver, as a family, whatever? Here's why we think this fits your needs." The second topic really differentiates the dark side from the light side in sales is talking versus listening. The light side, they're more interested in what the client wants, and that's going to manifest itself in two things. One, listening and letting someone really fully articulate their ideas or thoughts. Sometimes that even manifests itself in like awkward pauses or giving people time to process things. And then the second thing it manifests itself is in really targeted quality questions. Right? A good listener doesn't just listen to what someone has to say, they question what they have to say, so the person that's trying to say something can articulate it even better. Also, reconfirm what they've said, taking what they say and then regurgitating it back to them, not necessarily the same words, so they feel understood. Light side, dark side. Dark side's going to talk a lot, dominate the conversation. Listeners are still going to engage in talking, but the client or the counterparty is always going to feel like they've been listened to and understood. The third comparison is how the person tells the truth or half-truth. So the dark side of sales, they're always going to tell lies or half-truths or leave stuff out, whereas the light side is always going to give very clear, transparent information that's easy to understand and tell important details, even if they might lose the sale from it. So I'm in solar, really easy example of that is battery backup, or what happens if the power goes out. So for someone that doesn't know solar really well, they think, "Oh, well, solar powers my house, so if the power goes out, my power is going to stay on." Someone on the dark side is going to say, well, they're going to lie, and I've seen this happen, and say, "Yeah, you have solar, the power's going to stay on." Well, it's not unless they have a battery backup, because most solar systems are grid tied. Versus someone on the light side is going to say, they're going to bring it up before it's even an issue. They're going to let the client know, "Hey, just so you know, this is a grid tied system. Grid tied means it works how the grid works. If the power's out, the power's out. If you want to have power, if the power's out, even if you have solar, you need either a backup generator or a backup battery." And for someone, that might make them not want to get the sale, because that might be a feature that someone really like hung their hopes on. But at the end of the day, like that product is still going to get solved, and if it doesn't deliver as promised, there's going to be issues, right? All right, the second to last one we need to talk about is over-promising or under-delivering. This one's a little harder one to combat, especially with people that are relatively new to sales, because there's just a lack of confidence sometimes in not only the product, but the person's own ability to articulate motivate and sell that product. And so oftentimes sales reps, especially new ones, will overpromise, right? And sometimes it's done in a malicious way. Oftentimes it's done in an innocent way. With solar, the example that's often quoted is production. So just like a car, the production is usually the miles per gallon. In solar, we have a kilowatt hours produced per year. And oftentimes sales reps will pad those numbers or not check them to see if that's actually what's going to be delivered. It's like one thing we did in our company is we took the past usage of customers that have actually been installed and we put a filter really on our production estimates. A lot of times my sales reps will go into home and they'll get a competing bid and our production numbers look lower. Clients will question that. They'll say, well, looks like you're not using it as an efficient system. But we have to point out to the clients, we say, we're using the same inverters, we're using the same equipment. The difference is that we've done our homework and we want to make sure we can for sure deliver, if not over deliver. Super important key aspect if you want to have a long-term successful sales career with a lot of referrals and repeat clients. The last one we want to go over is really the kind of the foundation to why one person would choose the dark side versus the light side. That has to do with someone's internal motivation. Dark side salespeople are almost always self-driven. So this is a tough one because being self-driven or self-motivated is not necessarily a bad thing. But if that transforms itself into selfishness, they're going to overpromise, overdeliver. They're going to lie and tell half-truths. They're going to do all these bad things, white lies as they'll call them, to try to get the sale and justify a means to an end. It's a hard thing to do to convince somebody to go from point A to point B on something they've never done before. So you have to be very motivated, self-motivated to be able to do that. But if that core driver is selfishness, all these other bad traits come along with that. It's like that Yoda quote with Anakin, right? Like Anakin's scared of the future and what's going to happen. That fear leads to anger, that anger leads to hate, that anger leads to suffering. And that's very similar to what a lot of salespeople experience. They're scared, they're not going to make commission, they're not going to be able to take care of themselves, they're not going to get their quota. And that fear leads to all these other bad traits, right? Whereas the light side, you can still be self-motivated and driven, but their core motivation is to provide value and service to other people. That motivation is going to lead to all these good and noble traits, which is taking care of a customer, like educating them, helping them provide a product and service that's going to help them. And that doesn't mean they can't make profit and commission off of that service. What they're doing is they're really exchanging education for commission, which is money, right? And that's very risky to do because you might invest all this time and knowledge and specialty into something and people might just tell you no, and they made $0, right? That's a really scary prospect to do. You should be compensated for the education, for the persuasion, but if you do it from a selfish perspective, which is easy to do, it's going to hurt people and yourself, and you're not gonna have a long-term career in sales. There's a lot of sales trainers out there, but oftentimes I see really hyped up sales training, and it can very easily turn into the dark side of sales because it's so aggressive that it's not actually helpful. I really want to focus on that ethical light side of sales, even though it's not as flashy, it's not as cool, because it's just the right thing to do at the end of the story. It's the right thing to do, and it's how you do right by people and grow a business long-term and grow relationships long-term and grow society. That's the sales theory that is foundational to all the practices that I teach to my sales org and that we practice every day. It makes people very successful. They have more time and financial freedom than they ever thought possible, but it comes down to doing right by the customer, following the light side of the force, and really do our best to provide people with an amazing experience with our products and services. So that wraps up this video. We'll go over some sales training books, also just sales training. The next ones are going to be over like sales tools, like objection handling, storytelling, and then the videos are also, we're shifting those to, we're doing it on Friday, we're going to be shifting those to launching every Monday, so we have the weekend to edit them and go over it. Appreciate you, like and subscribe, and love to hear from you.